So Graham, just do an overall evaluation offensively through 2 games. I mean, you guys putting up nice numbers. You happy? Still things you can do better? Or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think there's always room for improvement, but we've shown flashes of doing some really good things, like we expected. I think the O-line's played at a high level. Like I said, since I've been here, that we have we have a group of guys that have played a lot of football games, and at that position that matters, especially played a lot of football games together. And so, the other night, thought the protection was really, really good. I think they got pressure on JT just once or twice, probably the whole night, and when that's the case, it makes things a lot easier as a quarterback. I know that, and I thought that JT showed some really good toughness week 1, took some shots, stayed in there like I talked about. But the other night they kept him really clean, and like I said, it just makes your job a whole lot easier. I think, the receivers played at a higher level the other night as well, and that was good to see. Done some good things. I think there's like I said, there's always room for improvement. And just like after week 1, there's room for improvement. And after this week, there's room for improvement. And, I think that, we got down there around the 10 twice and settled for field goals. And that's probably the difference in winning and losing football games, And so that's kind of been the message. Like, there's a lot of good stuff on tape. You've done a whole lot of good things. But there's still opportunities to win football games that we didn't take advantage of. And that's what we got to make the most of opportunities we have.
You mentioned that I count the first half. I really count you 4 for 4 because that last possession really was meaningless. But in the second half, you had a couple of procedure penalties. What's your message there? How do you clean that stuff up? Because those were 2 critical plays.
No question. They were both. We had first and goal from the 5, get a procedure, make it first and goal from the 10, which that's a huge difference there. And on that play, we had a good play. I thought we'd probably been down to the 1 or 2 if we didn't score on the play. We had the first procedure, and then we get to 4th and half a yard and going for it, and expect to score there and get another procedure penalty and settle for a field goal. I thought they did a great job after that, getting a big stop for us and giving us another chance to go to there and tie the game. And the guys did a great job doing that. But at the same time, if you score a touchdown right there, you're not going down to tie; you're going down to win it. And obviously, that's a huge difference. And so, week 1 we had, I think, 5 or 6 procedure penalties, and something we addressed, got it down to 2. But the 2 we had last night were this week were in critical situations that really cost you points. And so, like I've said since I've been here, offensively we talk about being selfless, tough, and disciplined. I think we do. I think we've done the selfless part and the tough part really, really well the first 2 weeks, and the discipline has to continue to improve. And I think it improves some. Just carrying over practice things to the game, like simple things like catching the football, something we work on every day. Pat and go, like we do catching drills every single day, and that's kind of been my message to those guys. Like we catch more balls in practice and throughout the week than probably anyone in the country, and so that's going to show up on Saturdays because we do that, and it did this week. You know what I mean? I think from a ball security standpoint, we went from having 3 or 4 balls on the ground week 1 to not having any balls on the ground the other night. So you clean some things up. Like I said, from a distance standpoint, we had less procedures, but we still had 2 critical ones. And so that's where you got to continue to get better and hold guys to a high standard. These are the standards and expectations, and when you meet them, good things happen. And when you don't, bad things happen. But also, there's got to be, like I said, we got to hold those guys to the standards that we've set for them. And so, like I said, I think the way we define selfless, we've done a heck of a job. Strained and done a lot of good things. Tough. Like the way we define is overcoming adversity with great attitude, with great effort. I think they've done a great job of that because in 2 weeks, as a unit, I think we faced a lot of adversity throughout 2 weeks, and they always answer the bell. So that's great to see. The discipline part is where we have to continue to improve, and if you do, I think you win football games.
What did it take this week for Bryce to come back and have the kind of game he had after what happened in the previous game? And I'm sure if as many passes as you threw in your life, there were the time maybe when you had a situation somewhat similar to that, and did you offer any advice?
More than anything, I think what we did was, if you look at week 1, it's unfortunate that everyone's going to remember the ball that kind of bounced off his head and they got a pick 6 to win on because, he had a pretty good night that night too, made some good catches. And I think I talked about it last week. Week 1, he called a couple third down conversions where he got banged, and they actually called targeting on both of them and picked them both up, but got hit hard enough that it looked like they may have targeted him. And made 2 contested touchdown catches, made 2 tough third down catches where he got hit and bounced up and kept playing. And like I said, just had an unfortunate play right there at the end. And it's kind of the one that people remember. But I think, as a player, that's hard to get over too. So I think there's a ton of credit to him from a standpoint of moving on. I think last week, since I've been here, Bryce has worked really hard. You know what I mean? And I think that's and I think you're seeing that on the field. And last week he may have worked, he was in here as much as anyone, spent a ton of time in here, caught a ton of extra balls, and it showed up on Saturday. But and so I think a lot of the credit belongs to Bryce just for the way he handled it, the way he showed up, the way he continued to work. But I think all week what we tried to do as a coaching staff was point out how well Bryce played. And yeah, it's going to be remembered. The one that they got the pick on from Pitt was the one that people were going to remember from that game. But showed him all the good stuff they did and said, this is who he is. You know what I mean? That the ball bouncing off his face was just an unlucky bounce. Who he really is a guy that made all the tough catches, who made contested catches, who caught 2 touchdowns. And we tried to really drive that home, as that's who you are, and that's what you've worked to be, and that's what you're going to be moving forward. He put in the work and had a good night the other night. And like I said, I think a lot of it's just that's who we expect him to be, and that's the way he's worked. And you're seeing the results on Saturday, because you don't just show up on Saturday and get results. Like whatever you work, whatever you do all week, or not only all week, but what you've done, all year up to this point, shows up on Saturdays. And he's done a good job. He's really worked hard at being consistent and playing with confidence and playing big, and that's showing up on Saturdays.
What have you seen out of the development out of your young quarterbacks behind JT?
They continue to improve, and Coach Brown does a great job of giving opportunities for those guys to get better throughout the week. And so, especially like with Nico, like he gets a ton of reps throughout the week. Like Sunday, we have a pretty good scrimmage. Usually on Tuesdays, we'll throw a scale with some developmental guys, or throw 7-on-7. Wednesdays, they get some more team reps, and then Thursday we do 7-on-7 again. And so, he's getting a ton of reps within what we do, and he gets better and better and better every day. And so that's good. And I think that, I've probably said this a ton of times since I've been here, but you can't replace like experience. You know what I'm saying? And the only way for young guys to get experience, if they're not playing in the games, is to get those developmental reps and get reps throughout practice. And so he's gotten a ton of reps over the last 2 weeks, and you can see him growing, it seems like, by the day. And so, and the more confident he gets, and I think this is anyone, the more confident you get, the better you play. And so I think a lot of things, confidence just comes with seeing things and having reps in them. So he's getting a lot of reps in it, and it's almost like he gets more and more talented each day, but it's not like his talent level is going up. I think just how comfortable he is and his experience and his confidence is going up. And because of that, you throw it with a little more crisp. You throw it with a little more pop, you know what I'm saying? Because you just know you have confidence. You know what you're doing. There's no hesitation. You rip the ball jumps out of your hand. So that's been awesome to see. And the other guys are growing too. We're getting those guys reps as well. But Nico has probably gotten the most, like from a developmental standpoint. And like I said, it's fun to watch a guy get better and better every day. And like I said, it's kind of neat to see when you can truly see, like, man, each day there's improvements, and I think that he can see that. I think he can feel that. Obviously, I see it, and that's been a lot of fun, and so he continues to grow.
Week 1, you ran the ball really well. I'm guessing because you ran it so well, that enabled you to pass the ball well. Week 2, I'm sure they probably tried to take away some things in the run game. Where does your offense have to be, in your opinion, after 8 quarters? Are you where you want to be? Are you still getting to where you want to be?
Well, we're always going to look to get better, but like you said, I think that we've shown the ability to throw in and run the ball well, and give yourself a chance to win doing either one of them. And so that's been that's really positive. And I've said since I've ever called plays, like, you got to be able to run the football to win games at a high level, and I like to throw it as much as anyone. But at the end of the day, like, if you can't run the football, at some point you're not going to be able to win. And so I think running the ball is important. Week 1, I thought we really ran it effectively. The other night we had pretty good yards, but I think we left some stuff on the field in the run game. But also they played a lot more one high, I think, probably to try to get people in around the box to stop the run. And when you do that, you're putting guys, on the perimeter in more one-on-one situations. I think we have the guys that if you put them in one-on-one situations can make the play. And so, if you can be really balanced, if you can hurt people running or throwing the ball, you can be really tough to stop. And so that's been good to see that we've thrown the ball well, we've ran the ball well when we needed to. And I think kind of like what I touched on when we started, like I think it goes back to having a really experienced O-line that's played a lot of games together. And so in the run game, they have a good feel for what they're doing and where the other guy's going to be, because they've got a ton of reps in that run scheme or whatever it is, inside zone, out, whatever we call, they've run that play together a whole lot of times. And when that's the case, like, you create running lanes for those backs and let those backs just go be themselves. Also in the pass game, if the quarterback can stand back there pretty clean, it makes the game a whole lot easier for that guy. And JT's an intelligent kid that sees things well, and has thrown the ball pretty well throughout the first 2 weeks. And when that O-line's getting a clean pocket, like, that makes it a whole lot easier. And so I think, like I said, the experience of that offensive line and the ability that they've given us to have a chance to run the ball well and throw the ball well has really helped us. And like I said, I think that that's a group that you can really build around. And kind of what we've tried to do is, hey, they have more experience than anyone. That's a talented group, and let's let them kind of carry the load. We put a lot on them, but they've answered the bell for 2 weeks.
Talk about running the ball. You had Justin Johnson, CJ, and Tony Mathis all get carries. What did you see from them, and does it change kind of drive to drive with who's getting more touches and more snaps?
Yeah, I think that, you want to feed the hot hand is kind of how I've always felt on offense, and it doesn't matter if it's running the ball, throwing the ball. Like, if you got a hot hand, feed it, and but at the same time, you got to keep them fresh. And so that's kind of the balancing act of that. In the run game, I thought that all three of those guys can get you yards. I thought that, JJ came in kind of in the third quarter. I thought he kind of gave us a spark, and then, he did some good things in the run game and popped a few. And so he played a little more as we went there, just because, like I said, at the time he was kind of the hot hand, but you also got to keep him fresh, And I think when you have three, you have a better chance to do that. And CJ does some special things with the ball in his hands, and then if he gets tired, the other night I think we gave him a couple carries in a row, and he was looking at that sideline for a breather, and so then you bring someone else in, but. It does. It helps when you have depth, and it doesn't matter what position you're at. If you got a little depth, it makes everything a little easier because you can keep them fresh and keep them running. And if someone gets the hot hand, you can really feed them.
Hey, Graham, excuse me, what you access from your play call sheet and all that stuff, does it change at all? Depend at all on who's available at running back? Because if you have one guy who's doing something good, you can do his stuff. But if all of a sudden you make a change, are you that familiar? I guess in the moment, who can do what you want to do with those three guys?
I think that we've obviously tried to develop those guys that any other three can do any of it. You know what I mean? And I think I touched on this last week, but the thing with CJ was he just hasn't played running back very long. So the thing that we were most hesitant about was, like, in the pass game, does he really know protections? Well, can he pick up the blitz, stuff like that? And through 2 weeks, I don't know if he's missed a protection. And when someone comes, that's 240 pounds behind him, and that's a little harder to run through than little guys. And so he's done a great job in pass protection. So probably the best thing about it so far is all three of them. It's not like you've had to call plays differently based on who's in the game, and sometimes that's not the case. But with the three, with what they've done so far, we've just been able to call the game and expect all three of them to do good things. And obviously, I think that different guys run different plays better. But I think all three of those have a good feel. They know what they're supposed to do. They know how to protect, which is obviously extremely important for the pass game. And at the running back position, you got to be able to do that. And they've all three shown the ability to do that. And they all know what they're doing in the run game. They know what they're supposed to read. And that doesn't mean you're perfect, because you're going to miss reads just like you miss reads at quarterback or any other position. But they know what they're supposed to do, and are giving us a chance to get yards in the run game, and that helps the cause.
When you evaluated JT's last throw there in the overtime, was it the read? Was it the kid making a play? What did you see there that caused that to be the pick six at the end of the game?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of things that played into it. The kid obviously made a good play, but we talk about it all the time. And JT, if you ask him, would probably tell you the same thing. Like, on out routes, you can't leave it inside. He left it inside, I think he could have been a little quick with his feet. I think that Bryce, if Bryce could have dug off the ball just a little bit better, and it would have held that guy, because the coming off the field, I just assumed that guy must have read JT's drop and drove it. And but if you go back and watch, he wasn't reading. His eyes were on the receiver, and so I think just because of soft coverage, I'm sure JT and Bryce both thought, well, this is just a layup, and Bryce could have drove off the ball a little better. JT could have kept his, sped his feet up a little more. But at the end of the day, if you keep the ball outside, it doesn't really matter. I mean, like, worst case scenario is it's incomplete and you're playing 4th and 5 right there. And so I think that's the biggest correction is you can't, and that's not something new. That's something we talk about every single day. Every time you throw an out route, like, you cannot leave that football inside. He left a little inside, and give the kid credit. The kid made a heck of a play. But you can't just sit here and say, well, what did he do well? Like we got to figure out what did we do wrong, or where can we prevent that? Is it a misread? Is it this, that? I don't think it's a misread. I think that if we dig off, if Bryce runs off the ball and threatens that kid's vertical a little more, and JT speeds his feet up, it's an easy completion. We're playing 1st and 10 from the 12 probably, and we expect to go score. But we didn't do those things, and then the kid on top of that made a really good play. Even because a lot of times, even if you do it the way we did it, you can get away with it, and that's the scary thing, or not the scary thing, but I kind of think the dichotomy of coaching is like, if you get away with that, I think you got to coach it the same way as if you don't get away with it, and that's what we've always tried to do is like, if the kid doesn't make that play and we throw a completion there, we can't tell our guys good play. You still got to coach them the same way as, you left that ball inside. We got to dig off the ball more, and yeah, we got away with it this time. But in a different situation, you won't get away with it, and in that situation, we didn't. But like I said, I think that in coaching, you got to see those things and coach them before they happen too, and that's something we touch on all the time. It's like throwing that ball, you got to be on time. It's got to be on time and outside. That's what we teach all the time as a quarterback, and on any route, we talk to the receivers all the time about you got to dig off the ball. There has to be a vertical threat on everything we do, because if there's not, they can sit on it. And those were 2 corrections on our end. Or 3 corrections: speed our feet up at the quarterback position, threaten them vertical at the receiver position, keep the ball outside. You do those 3 things, I think that's a different play.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.